Dear Abby Normals.
Welcome to Deeply Disturbing Things.
Oh my God, what were you doing?
He's getting all anxious because we talked about being anxious.
Okay, sorry.
It's been a while since we've been in person doing it.
Okay. My anxiety.
You were drunk last time.
I was so embarrassing. I couldn't even watch it.
You did so good though. You offered a lot to the episode.
Thank you.
And since we only had one topic, it was good. It fluffed it out.
Yeah, I love a good fluff. All right.
All right, let's go.
Dear Abby Normals,
Welcome to Deeply Disturbing Things.
the podcast.
I'm Macy,
And I'm Naomi.
And I'm Sarah.
and we're three anxious counselors who like to talk about deeply disturbing things.
Woohoo! We are going to review the 1990 film Flatliners tonight.
Yeah.
So if you have not watched it yet, stop, go watch it, and then come back and listen, and then we can all discuss it together.
Yes. I had to finish watching it right before this after class.
Oh, I know. Both of y'all's time management skills.
I work great under
Pressure.
Pressure.
Deadlines.
I mean, when I have to do it, I will.
Me too.
So this
Very
came
much
out
the same.
from our last episode. Do you want to
Yeah.
share how this came out?
From your near-death experience topic.
Yes.
Because that's what
Yes.
this film is about.
Yes. And I was a whole lot of surprised about this film, but I'll wait till we dive into it. But yeah.
I have our film review peppered with some fun facts that I'll be sprinkling in
We love a good fluff.
here and there. This film, it's 1990, which is basically the 80s.
Mhm.
Stars Keifer Sutherland, Kevin Bacon, Julia Roberts, Billy Baldwin, and Oliver
I
Platt.
wrote down in my notes that I didn't bring, like, wow, all the actors. Like, it was like, oh, you're famous, you're famous, you're
Mhm.
famous, you're famous. It was like all of them.
All famous.
All the big hitters.
Yeah.
I did learn that there's a 2017 remake semi-sequel with
Oh.
Keifer Sutherland and Elliot Page, but we are not reviewing that one. We are watching and reviewing the 1991.
Mhm.
So here's your first fun fact. Julia Roberts and Keifer Sutherland started dating during filming. They ended up getting engaged, but Julia Roberts ultimately broke it off and ended up marrying Lyle Lovett. Do you remember when they were married?
No, but
Everyone
wow.
kind of was like, didn't understand it because, Julia
know,
Roberts is traditional beauty and Lyle Lovett, some say he looked kind of goofy.
well,
It
maybe
didn't really
because she
last.
looked at his personality.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? I don't know either one of them. It did not last forever,
My squish.
which is neither here nor there.
No, I'm trying not to invade your space.
Some relationships just aren't meant to last forever.
Right. True. That's okay.
Flatliners was written and conceived by Peter Filardi
Conceived?
after
Ugh.
a friend of his
Ugh.
had a
Yeah,
near-death
it's-
experience.
Sorry, you can't say that word and not expect us to listen to the rest of the sentence. Wait, not expect us to.
I don't expect
He
it.
conceived it. He did not carry that and birth it.
He
how
thought of
is.
it.
He thought it. Thank you.
So he got fascinated with this subject because he felt like it was really not explored in film. It was like unexplored territory, and really thought that it was a new frontier for people of that generation.
Yeah, like when I was watching it, like they talked about that quite a bit, just even in the film. Like this is like untouched areas. We'll really get those baby boomers. Like
going to the moon here.
yeah, it was like this. Yeah, get them.
Uncharted territory.
The opening line, "Today's a good day to die."
Mm.
I enjoyed that.
I wrote down a few good things I didn't bring.
Oh, there was they
They had a few good
few
like
good
lines in
quotes.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, Keifer said
Good
one. I'll have
line.
to remember too that I wanted to.
I like things to just hook me right away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to suffer through it and think, ugh, is this going to be terrible? I
Mhm.
want to be like right away in. And that line did it for me. Plus, I liked his kind of goth,
Vibe. Yeah.
Keifer.
bad boy kind of, yeah.
I've always liked Keifer since Lost Boys.
Yes, Lost Boys. So there's three main characters: Keifer Sutherland, who plays dark and brooding Nelson Wright; Kevin Bacon, who plays like the rock and roll med student David Labratio, who in the opening scene gets suspended; and then Julia Roberts, who plays Rachel McManus or Manus, I can't remember. And
her hair was on point.
She's trying to get taken seriously in a misogynistic world. She's
Medicine.
called frigid or repressed because she's like not interested in dating this guy. And then we have like the two other kind of side characters, Billy Baldwin, who I thought looked very cute in this movie.
So hot.
Which one was he? Which one?
Joe Hurley, the playboy who films himself having sex with people without their knowledge.
Was it that guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
know that Baldwin existed. Like,
There's
how
like
did I
so
miss
many Baldwins.
I had no
so many
idea.
cute Baldwins?
Okay.
There's a lot of Baldwins.
There was you get to see his butt if you're interested in watching the movie.
It's
They
even
show
just,
it.
like, I don't know, his little smoldering look is just kind of cute. I
Smoldering.
don't know. Got like
And
I
then
thought
we
it
have
was super
Oliver
creepy
Platt.
that he was recording all the chicks that he was.
And by the way, I didn't think that because of the whole situation that he was in. It was like right from the beginning. I was like, wait a second, I've never noticed this Baldwin before. Like, this thing.
Oliver Platt plays Randy Steckel, the pragmatic one. I don't know if it's Billy Baldwin or one of the others that was in a movie I really liked in the 90s called Threesome, which is
I've
about a
seen that.
threesome.
I don't
Is that Billy
remember.
Baldwin or is that another one?
Maybe. I don't remember.
We'll have to look it up
I've
later.
seen that one.
I really liked the soundtrack of that movie.
Hmm.
So those are the main characters, those five. So Nelson, he's trying to recruit his fellow med students to bring him back to life after he intentionally dies so he can explore what happens after we die.
Yeah, that was interesting how they really. He was like, this is where philosophy failed and religion has failed. Like, now we must use science to figure out what is that missing piece.
The power of science.
Science.
Here's the procedure as described by Nelson. Number 1, anesthetize him with sodium pentothal and nitrous oxide.
Can I pause and just say,
Yeah.
Please do not do this. This is only a movie for entertainment purposes only, as is this podcast.
Good disclaimer.
Go ahead.
Number 2, cool down his body temperature with a refrigerated blanket. Number 3, when his body temp reaches 86 degrees Fahrenheit, zap him with 200 joules to stop the heartbeat. 4, when the heart is quote unquote dead, take off the nitrous mask. And number 5, when the EEG flatlines, hence the name of the movie, wait 30 seconds and then begin warming the body. When the body has reached 96 degrees Fahrenheit, inject 1 cc adrenaline and wait for 1 more minute. And then finally, zap him again with the defibrillator in order to start his heart beating again. So the first one was just going to be like very quick, less than a minute, and bring him back. I really like the Gothic backdrop. Like, what is this med school?
I know. I was like, it looks like an old church, and yeah,
It was like really cool.
I mean, looks maybe not the most sanitary.
yeah, like it needed to be cleaned.
Like kind of a warehouse style.
Do you think it's a fictional med school or is that a real med school?
A fictional med school.
I wanted it to be real.
I didn't see really many other characters other than like the few like patients that they showed.
It looked like a war hospital where they ran out of space in the real hospital, and
Right. And like the
people
other
was
half of the
like a
building
crisis.
is blown up, and you just don't see that side of it. But it's
Yeah, it's like a crisis center.
yeah,
It was cool though.
it
Yeah.
was good to see. It reminded like kind of Crow vibes in that way,
It
like
gave it
the
the
ambiance.
creepy vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of set the tone.
Yeah.
It definitely had a different feel. I was expecting more drama, like drama in like relationship type thing, not the really moody scene, like moody feel, which was
Mhm.
surprisingly refreshing.
Mhm. It was better than I thought it was going to be.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't watched it since back then.
I've never
And
watched
so
it.
I really,
I never
other than
saw
knowing the
any-
plot line, I totally like forgot all these little details. So it was fun to rewatch it
Yeah.
and remember like what 1990 was like.
Yeah.
You can just tell by the intro before the movie even starts, and you're like, ooh, are they having like problems with the real? Like, it's just looks really old.
I thought Kevin Bacon's long hair looked good on him. I don't know if that was a wig or not, but it looked
Not a
good.
Kevin fan.
I
don't
used to think he was cute. I really did.
I just don't. I feel like his face got like squished, but like this way.
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
very pointy.
How many degrees do you have between you and Kevin Bacon?
I don't know.
6.
I don't
Is that
know.
a
6 degrees
thing?
of separation.
Yeah.
Why? Does he have many babies out there? Like what's
No, just there's a thing back a long time ago. God,
while like
15 years ago or
Right.
something, where everybody would like have some certain amount of degrees of
Connection.
connection to Kevin Bacon, and like
It's usually,
everybody
like,
had it.
6 degrees, so it's like
Like
there's
less,
6.
like sometimes 3. I'm gonna have to
Sorry.
find my degrees. We'll report back.
Mhm.
Become our patron if you want to.
figure
get
out our
that,
degrees from
if you
Kevin
wanna learn.
Bacon.
So they decide to get to it and film the experiment. Randy Steckel and Joe Hurley have concerns, but they're still there. Do you mind silencing your phone? And they have an interesting little conversation about, is it murder if they're only dead for a little while?
Right. That's a good, ethical consideration.
Mhm.
Like, am I killing you?
There was definitely a lot of ethical questions that were
Mhm.
Yeah.
not considered. Maybe
I think I would err on the side of I'm not killing you. Unless you die.
right.
And don't come back.
So you have to take that risk.
Right.
I can see how it'd be exciting to be like part of something so on the forefront, though.
Mhm.
I mean,
To
it's
be
still
able to
technically
basically
on the
prove
forefront
life
now.
after death.
It's still on the forefront now. We could technically do this.
Are people has there
Do we
been
have
a team that has done this?
A moody, blown up war hospital
That
we can use.
Well, let us know if you know one.
And then, so they did the thing, and Rachel
thing.
Manis said, brain death. Now it's real.
Mm.
So that got me on this like whole little thing where I wanted to look up something.
Mhm.
So there's something called the Uniform Determination of Death Act. Because I was like, we've talked about how
Right.
is somebody dead? Like, it's not as black and white as one might think.
Mhm.
So there is a legal statute that was formulated in the early 1980s that has been adopted by all 50 states in the US that defines the threshold of death as either 1, irreversible cessation of circulatory and respiratory function. So that would be our heart and lung failure. Or, so there's an or, which is very interesting. 2, irreversible cessation of all functions of the entire brain, including the brain stem. So that is brain death
Mhm.
that they're referring to in the movies. So there are cultural differences with this. So some groups, including Orthodox Jews and Native Americans, equate death to the heart stopping, not the brain.
Mhm.
And the way they test this is not uniform
Mhm.
and not,
Interesting.
and there's some ambiguity to it. So really the line between life and death is super fuzzy.
Mhm.
Who's they?
So I learned there was a factual error in the film. There's a couple of them, but one
Who's the
is
1990s?
the lack of cardio activity, which is known as the flat line, or the medical term is asystole. It's not treated with a defibrillator,
Oh,
which is the electric shock.
so don't
Oh.
follow the instructions for real because it
Yeah.
won't work.
But instead, you treat a flatline with alternating doses of epinephrine and atropine.
Mm.
But I can see in the
Like
film,
sounds
like
like
there's
that.
more dramatic effects with just doing the whole like.
Ah. Right.
Have you all ever worked a defib, an AED?
I've been trained to
Trained
use them, but
whenever.
not
Yeah,
Thank
same.
goodness.
I've done the training. And I was like, I'm glad it walks you through it because I would
And
be
it
so
does-
panicked.
Right.
What about
Place
CPR?
left-
You guys
Yes.
ever do CPR?
Oh, in real life?
I'm not done it in real life.
That's
But
another
every
one
first
scary.
aid training, CPR training I go to, they're like, if you don't have an AED, you're dead.
Hmm.
Like CPR can
It's
help,
basically
Like,
trying to
the
get.
but it
the
has to
ambulance.
be, yeah, you have to get.
It's not like how they kind of talk about it, like you're gonna save their life in that moment, and like it's like you're just the trying to fill the gap for the
Mhm.
ambulance to get there.
I did do Heimlich and save somebody
Mm.
before.
Yay.
My ex-husband who was choking on steak.
Oh my gosh, you're a hero.
Yeah,
That's
it was
scary.
crazy.
Did it fly out the way that they say?
He
that it
barfed
will?
right on his plate.
Nice.
And then the server came back and said, do you want that to go? And we were like so mad and stressed. We just like walked out of the restaurant.
I feel like I could handle a Heimlich. I don't know
I think I
why.
could do that.
I really.
You have long arms.
Well, I just know.
I feel like that
two
would-
fingers above the belly button. And then you gotta like position your hands up a certain way up. I just
You do the baby
Yeah.
on your knee, right?
that
A
one would
different
scare
one.
the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Like a Heimlich on a baby.
I mean, every
Yeah.
CPR class is like, you have to be prepared that you will be breaking ribs.
Yeah,
And
like
to feel that. Can you imagine
just-
on a baby like breaking their ribs?
You're supposed to put on like.
But you
upside
have
down,
to.
hit their
Yeah.
back.
gotta do what you gotta do.
Ugh. So I'm glad I remembered that. I need to remind my ex that I did save his life once.
Just
I just
back
need to
pocket.
bring it up periodically.
Yeah.
In
Right.
case you need some work done around the house.
Yeah.
So the experiment works. Nelson is dead for a minute and is brought back, and they're all like giddy. And Rachel's like, I want to go next, and kind of ups the ante. I'm going to do 1 minute, 20 seconds. But then Joe ups the ante to 1 minute 30 and goes next.
Which sounds very like drug seeking at this point. It's like
Oh, yeah.
amping up, but like trying to outdo each other. Because they're still at this point, they're not getting the answers that they thought they would. Like it's not an answer to that. Like they're still like information gathering basically at this point.
Mhm, mhm.
This really bothered me that they did not really collect enough data at the end. Like they didn't like
Well, it
actually,
became a horror movie at a certain point.
Right.
You wanted a spreadsheet.
I wanted them to have a group meeting.
You wanted a
Notes
flow
needed
chart.
to be taken.
There needed to be a whiteboard,
They
definitely.
definitely talk about the negative stuff that was happening, like right from the
You wanted a
beginning.
pros and cons list.
I was
Right.
very upset that was not.
I was
happening.
surprised how like because it was moody throughout the whole thing, and then it did become like a scary movie, and I wasn't expecting that at all.
I wasn't either.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, they're using like a red filter light now, and
There was children
it's
running
getting
around.
crazy.
You were
Like
scared when
there's
the
an
child
axe
was running.
pig. Like I don't like the kids. I don't like them scary
I thought
children.
about you. I was like, Macy's getting so scared this part.
It's not. I would. Yeah. No, it would have to end.
So Joe gets to go.
We
And
were
then
jumping
Rachel
ahead.
again
Sorry.
is like, I want to go next, and ups the ante to 150. But then David ups the ante to 220 and gets to go next. So Rachel is continually getting overlooked here.
Again, like she's just trying to like fit in with the group, and they have to like not let her shine. A bunch of buttholes.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just say it was different cultural times. You know, I'm a big believer in we can't, judge the past based on the morals of today.
Right.
And I'm wondering, did I think that was weird back then? Was I like, hey, give her shot?
Mhm.
Or did I just accept it? I don't remember.
I feel like there could have been a lot worse things that they were
Yeah.
doing or saying. Like it wasn't, they were including her for the most part, I
Right.
feel.
Right. It wasn't like
And it was almost like she was standing up for herself and saying, you guys are like,
Mhm.
not giving me my shot, like what the heck, and was
Right.
standing up for herself. So I feel like there was some good stuff going on.
And it took me a while to
Yeah.
figure out that she and Kevin Bacon character were dating. It took me
yeah.
a while.
Were they dating?
I was
or
gonna
did
say, I
think
didn't
they hooked
even-
up later. I don't think
Okay.
she was really
Not
and
initially.
Everyone liked her, but she was kind of like, I'm focused
Okay.
on becoming a surgeon. Like,
Right.
get away from me. And then
But
she
eventually everybody falls for Kevin Bacon.
realized, like his last name is Bacon, and she's like, okay,
Bring
I'm
home the
a fan.
bacon.
Who doesn't
Fry it
like
up in the
bacon?
pan. And those, so So then the
Push-
question comes
drifting
up,
away.
are those who have died and come back experiencing some possible negative effects as a result of the experiment?
Probably that's happening. Probably.
Yeah, probably. So here's another factoid I'm peppering in. I looked up because I kind of wanted to balance fact with fiction. What are the limits to reversal of death?
Good question.
Because they're upping the ante, right? They're wanting to go for longer and longer periods of time. I'm like, wow, like, would somebody really be clinically dead for, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, and be able to be revived? Well, listen to this. There is no specific duration of clinical death at which the non-functioning brain clearly dies. None.
Weird.
Reduced body temperature during clinical death slows the rate of injury accumulation and extends the time period during which clinically death can be survived. It is said in emergency medicine, nobody is dead until they are warm and dead.
Warm and dead?
Because if the body's
Filled.
cooled, you can sustain that period of
Right.
life.
So basically, when you're starting rotting at that point, your
Oh, and the body
body's-
starts warming back up again?
Well, like if you're just left to the elements,
Yeah.
so to speak, and you're not being cooled,
Mhm.
then you
be
will die.
alive for a long time if you're in the cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a thing about the time. So it seemed like the time matched. Like how long they were out was about how long the experience was. And I wondered if that was like a real,
That's a good.
Like, was it in real time?
yeah, because like some of the experiences I read from for my topic, it was like it would seem like
Longer?
it seem much
Like
longer.
you're away
than the
for like
experience.
a year. Or
Right, but it
something.
may have only been seconds, and so they seem to kind
Interesting.
of match up the time from what I saw.
Interesting.
That's a good point.
Rachel finally gets her turn, but in another factual error, keeps on her underwire bra, which is a no-no when doing electrical shocks. And I know it's an underwire because they did not have wireless bras back then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it was probably because Julia's like, I am not showing my boobs.
Yeah,
So-
probably like in her contract.
Yeah.
It's like we just hit the 90s, guys.
I
Like
know.
slow down.
Yeah.
She's under for more than 4 minutes and they have trouble bringing her back, but they are able to bring her back.
Mhm.
The group then starts talking about when they come back to life, they may be bringing the sins of their past with them.
Yeah, this is where it started getting weird for me.
Mhm.
Of like, oh, okay, here's where it becomes a horror show.
Yeah.
Well, I started to really reflect on like the sins of my past. And I'm like, oh, hell no. If I have to face that, if there's like judgment day after I die, like that would be fucked up.
But that doesn't really align with most of the experiences that were shared by people,
Yeah.
like of it being a pleasant experience.
Well, maybe it's if
Yeah.
it heaven or hell.
Well, and
Depends on how bad you were.
there's one point when he's like standing, he's like, sorry, God, for stepping on your toes. Like he has this moment, and like maybe it's that too of like this isn't God's doing, so to speak,
You
within
guys
this
are messing
movie
where you
realm.
shouldn't be.
Right, like because they're meddling. It's that, like don't be meddlers. Maybe that's the moral of the story. Don't
I think
meddle.
there's
Don't
probably
meddle.
some sort of reflection in my mind of like that review where you go back through the
A
memories.
life review, yeah.
But obviously you're not, I mean, well, the fact that when you come back, there's not gonna be like
They had it like
the
a
haunting.
hauntings. Yeah, like all of a sudden ghosts were now
Especially the
involved
ones like chopping
with an
you.
ice pick or whatever.
But
the
maybe
fuck
that's
that
what
was.
happens when you mess with us, though. Who knows? I mean,
Kevin,
most
only
people
Kevin
aren't
Bacon really
going to
will ever know.
try to do this, like experimentally.
Mhm. Mm.
So they start having to face up to the sins of their past. So Joe, the playboy, starts hearing all his lines and lies fed back to him. I kind of enjoyed that.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's good.
And then David, the Kevin Bacon one, decides to try to go make amends to the girl that he and his schoolmates
Right.
bullied back in elementary school.
yeah.
And I really thought that this was a great example of the difference between intention and impact. Like he
Yes.
was like, it was sort of self-serving. Like, I want to make myself feel better, but want to do this
An
apology.
apology.
I'm doing the
Right.
right thing, but then like, what's the impact on that person that's just trying to live their life and
Right.
has moved past all that? Or maybe it didn't even bother her that much back in the day, but now you're like stirring the pot.
Yeah.
It seemed like her reaction.
Well, and even like him, it was like almost a slap in the face that he would come there and apologize now. Like when she's like, I'm not the ugly girl anymore. It was kind of like you saying this to me now is saying that you still think that on some level and you're apologizing.
It's bringing
for
the
it.
past into the present.
Right. And it's
I
not
think
relevant.
you need to have somebody's permission before doing that.
Like,
Because
hey,
some people work very hard to leave the past in the past.
right. Mm-hmm.
And did he really care? Only he just wanted to like get his own
To stop.
ghosts.
Right,
stop that.
which is true. He didn't go there before this point. He didn't think about it before this point.
Yeah, I mean, she was scary,
Mhm.
calling him out in the subway.
I just had a random thought. What if, because they were like meddling so much with,
You like that word tonight.
it's my word,
Meddling.
Scooby-Doo.
And are you meddling kids?
meddling in that zone, but not quite getting there. Maybe it's the brain's way of trying to find resolution because the brain's thinking like you're not passing. Why aren't you passing? Let's find the problems that you're holding on to, the guilt and things, so you can go and fix those so you can pass on.
It's some really intense,
Mhm.
brief solution focused therapy.
Right.
And I'm here for it.
Me too.
Maybe we need to
Right.
start
As focus
killing
group.
all our clients
Or
and bringing
kill
them
all.
back.
Nope. Disclaimer: we don't do that. We don't do that.
We would have a solid informed consent form though.
Very unethical.
Please read your consent forms. That's number 2. I know you guys don't do it. You just scroll and sign it.
You should read it. I have some interesting stuff in mind about like what happens after I die.
No, mine's in there. too.
Coincidentally.
Yeah.
I'm like, in the case of my untimely death.
No, you don't.
Yes. I say
Yes.
Macy will
I'm
take over all my
professional.
cases.
And she's in mine. Yes.
Yeah.
We're
We're,
supposed
we're
to.
each other's death buddies.
Yeah. You want to
Do
be
you need a death
bud?
buddy?
I thought of this because I'm like, what happens if I
No,
die?
it's like a legit thing.
Nobody's
So,
gonna tell my
I have
people.
We could be a death
Professional-
throuple.
I have a professional
Okay.
will that has access to my passwords and stuff. Who's going to take care of my clients? The disclosure I want sent to my clients
Okay,
at
we
that
need to
time.
talk more about this. I
Yeah.
need help.
It's important because people die sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just
And then,
happens.
my clients would just like,
Sometimes
my
they-
therapist is abandoning me.
Right. And it's like, make sure there's like timelines attached and how you want your business, because then if you have a private practice, how do you want that business to be handled?
Which
How
I'm
do you
just
want it to be
starting with,
closed?
so
Right.
Yeah.
It's exciting. So
finally.
sometimes people don't die, and we're going to caveat about that after the podcast, because I have a little juicy tidbit for you that is horrifying for me.
Okay.
You're welcome. Yep. It's just, I like to leave that teaser in there for you too, because I just remembered that I forgot to tell you.
Okay. I'll remember to remind you.
Okay. Is
Don't use facial
atonement
at me.
in the present the answer to this
have to do it at the same
karmic
time.
problem?
Ow, it tickles. I hate it.
David, who has received forgiveness, he thinks, believes
Your
this,
picture
that's the answer. So they all start thinking about this. Well, how do I atone in the present for sins of the past? And then what if the person who haunts you is dead? Rachel thinks she caused her dad's death. And it's revealed that Nelson's nemesis, the really terrifying Billy Mahoney, who apparently Nelson killed when they were kids, is also dead. So how do you atone in the present if the person that haunts you is dead?
That's some act work right there. Some acceptance and commitment therapy, probably.
Mhm. I was thinking he was gonna at first that he was gonna go to the kid's mom and ask for forgiveness, but then it went way off.
Yeah, no,
Correct.
things got weird. Things got weird fast.
Because I was thinking that how would you atone if somebody is dead then? But yeah, just
I think on some level, it's just admitting that you did a bad thing and that
within your own heart.
and that you have to feel bad for that.
Mhm,
Like, sorry,
mhm,
you don't always get to feel good about what you do if you've done something bad.
mhm.
Well, in this fictional film, Rachel is able to find peace with her past. Like she goes through this cool vision experience.
Mhm.
I didn't really understand what was going on. What was the shot that the dad
He was doing
did?
drugs.
Yeah, I think it was drugs. It was 1990s reference to maybe
He was a
heroin.
veteran who came back from the war and was having
Maybe.
like PTSD and couldn't handle it. And he was using drugs to like cope. And then he might have taken too much.
An
and just
overdose.
Either overdosed or freaked out when she came in. He just couldn't
Mhm.
handle it and he ran out and shot himself in the car.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't really feeling a strong connection between her thinking that she caused his death and then her
Because-
feeling like she was forgiven for that.
Because she went into the room where he was doing drugs, and then when she opened the door, the mom came in and goes, the dad ran out because I don't think he didn't want the little girl or Julia to see it, whatever her name was in the movie. And
Little
so
baby
he
Julia.
ran away because he's like, I can't deal with this. I'm
Right.
trying to do drugs and my daughter's coming in and I gotta get out, like I gotta kill myself. And the mom turns and says, this is your fault.
Oh,
So then the whole time she thought she did that to like she caused the death of the dad.
but by what? By going into the
By
bathroom?
going into the
Mom?
bathroom. By going into the
Okay,
bathroom.
I can
So-
see like a little kid like
And
piecing
I
that
think
together.
That's why she was so confused, because she did seem kind of confused as an adult about, and like there's a lot of like not talking, like I don't really want to talk about it,
Mhm.
because it probably logically as an adult she knew it didn't make sense, but her inner child self
Felt
probably
guilty
had
still.
some guilt and unresolved.
Okay, that
issues.
makes a little more sense to me. I was like, I'm not really connecting.
Yeah, I
those dots
forgot
here.
about the whole actually him killing himself part of it.
Mhm.
But now something needs to be done about Billy Mahoney, who keeps trying to put a pickaxe into Nelson's head.
This
Right.
I didn't understand this part fully.
It was far-fetched.
So Nelson decides to go under again on his own, being a rogue rebel. So he's experimenting on himself. And I wrote some questions that I had. When is it a good idea? When isn't it to do these self-experiments?
Well, wasn't his whole, I mean, he didn't care if he was gonna die at that point. He felt like he deserved to die for what he did, right? Because he wasn't expecting them to revive him. They just ran in and
Do you think he did that the whole thing from the beginning because he had like unresolved, like because he was pretty like
Dark and brooding.
yeah about it from the get-go.
Didn't he have a trench coat on in the opening scene?
I saw feelings.
I mean, that is like the
Spokane
fashion
is
statement of
known-
dark and brooding.
especially in the
Spokane's
80s.
known for like if you drive down Sprague in the Valley during summertime, at least one person is wearing a trench coat in unbearable heat, and you're like, how?
And they must be up to no good.
No, not. I don't think that. I'm just like
I'm gonna buy a trench coat.
You're apparently way cooler than me
Because you're up to no good.
Because I'm dark and brooding
and up to no good.
and up to no good.
That's a podcast title: Dark Brooding and Up to No Good.
I like it.
Review of Flatliners.
So before we thought like, is it murder? Now I'm wondering, is that suicide? It's kind of
Yeah. So I
That
mean,
would've been
related
suicide.
question.
gravely disabled would be making like medical decisions about yourself that aren't considered healthy, like if you stop taking your diabetes medication. That could be considered if you're intentionally doing something that you know could kill you, but you don't, but you're like, I'm not trying to kill myself, it still could be considered suicide.
even if it's for the greater good of humanity.
I mean, do they
That
really
was more selfish though.
really establish that though? I don't think that was established.
I think they did speak about like how famous they would be.
Right. I didn't hear good for humanity. I heard like we're gonna beat
Get
the baby
awards
boomers and get awards and like answer like almost this like we need to be like omnipotently aware of everything. Yes, humans.
Like a lot of
do.
That's my
medical
middle name.
professionals do.
Omnipotently aware of everything. So Nelson's friends, they're like caught on to what's going on. So they race in there and they try desperately to revive him. He's dead for over 12 minutes. Meanwhile, he's having a showdown with Billy Mahoney. and ends up finding peace with him and almost follows him into the light. But then he's called back by these renewed and desperate efforts to revive him.
So it was like he needed more time to get to his resolution. Some people got there sooner because they didn't have, it was more guilt versus you did do something wrong.
So his atonement was partially because then he fell from the tree and got impaled, right? Wasn't that how Billy Mahoney was like smiley and happy?
I don't think so.
What happened? Y'all just watched it just before this. I watched it like 2 weeks ago because I did my homework early.
It was more that he was he was making him feel what he went through so that he could understand what he put the kid through. So I think the whole time he was still like, screw you, little kid. Like, I don't care. Like, come on, Billy, let's go. Like, he was
Billy.
really
Why
sorry.
are they always named Billy? I've
Yeah,
never
like,
met a Billy in my
He,
real
like, in
life.
his heart was not like feeling remorse. He was more sad that he killed his dog. No.
I used to have a crush on a Billy that I grew up with. Billy, if you're out there, you know who you are.
Don't hang it up.
No, don't. Those never work out.
No. No.
But then he said, he said, I'm
Leave the past
sorry.
in the
I think he
past.
said sorry.
Oh my
right?
God, leave the
Sorry.
past in the
The
past.
whole thing.
Full circle. Hakuna Matata.
Yeah.
Well, you can see that there was a lot of this film that I was trying really hard to understand. And maybe the key to 1990s films is just going for the ride and not
Right.
really trying to understand it to this level.
There was one
Right.
other big brain thought I had on this movie was I don't remember the people's names in the movie. I just remember like Baldwin, the Baldwin character. His atonement. Did you guys pick up on what his atonement was? Because he was never able to go back and say sorry to all these women that he
Mhm.
screwed with.
Yeah.
Did you catch?
No, what was his? I can't remember.
And so what I thought was that the now fiance, I think he was engaged finally, or he was going to, he really loved her. And he was finally like, this is the one, like, I really want to change for this one. And then she found the tapes and she's like, I'm out of here. So it's like he had to pay in real time.
In the real
like,
time,
he
yeah.
never was able to like go back and say sorry, but by him being punished
Maybe
in
he
real
would
life
change.
was his atonement. Is what I
Yeah,
saw.
that like, yeah, so that concept that everything that goes around comes around.
Wow.
Mhm.
I had a final statement that I wrote: life and death, judgment, atonement in the house of God.
Hmm.
Because they're doing all this in a churchy place,
Right.
which
It
is
was
very aesthetically
very
on point, I thought.
narcissisty, like play God-y of them.
I mean, I'd be scared being in there at night,
It's a bit
just standing there.
Frankenstein-y almost, like I'm bring the lightning in.
Oh, and then the power went out. That was
brain.
scary.
Yeah, revive,
Right.
create life
From
from
death.
death.
It was a Frankenstein movie.
Oh my God, and bring it back to our Abby Normals, Young Frankenstein.
Mhm.
It's such a good movie.
You have to watch it. If you're our people, if you're our tribe, you know and love that movie. So
And if you haven't, but you want to be our people, we'll accept you after
we'll
the
take,
fact.
yeah, late comers is fine, late bloomers. We're all good.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the movie?
It was actually worth watching. Like it was a doable, like if you're looking for a flick.
Who talks like
bored?
that?
Bored some nights.
Hey, you looking for a flick?
I've been called an old person so many times in my life.
You're an old soul.
Or I've been called awkward. One of the two. If you're looking for a flick, it's a great one to watch. You can peruse that when you feel bored.
Flickery.
Yeah.
Oh, I was really upset because I bought this movie on
I bought it too.
Prime,
Me too.
but then I had to go somewhere
Was it free somewhere else?
on Tubi.
The hell's Tubi?
I know Tubi.
I don't know. I
So
found
it's
it on my
free?
phone and it was free and it was the whole movie on my phone. Then
Always check Tubi first.
check Tubi. They got free movies.
I mean, really, my whole takeaway from all of this experience is what goes around comes around, and you better
Yeah.
stop meddling.
Well,
True. That's good.
save that
advice.
for you until next time in a second.
That was my until next time.
Well, we gotta say, if you didn't listen to our last episode, we talked about near-death experiences. It was dope AF, and that's what inspired actually this episode.
Right.
Please consider being our supporter on Patreon. You get
Patreon.
tons of exclusives, and it really
Do
helps
that
us
week.
fund this, because obviously we do not have a team. It's just us, and we're just bumbling through it all.
But we enjoy it. We love what we do, and we love that you love what we do. So thanks for being here. And until next time, stop meddling, and what goes around comes around. I'm using it because I wanted to, and I have nothing
That's
else.
a good one.
And maybe try to do your atonement now while you're alive, so you don't have to fuss with all that after death.
Ooh, and read your disclosure statements, your informed consents.
How about you?
Yeah, I guess like just check in with your heart, go back and say sorry to people that maybe you hurt in the past.
You have such nice ones. It's so
I don't know.
well written in your brain.
That's what we have, Sarah, to balance out this darkness.
I'm very like connected to the darkness, and I understand.
Oh, that's why
it.
you're here. You wouldn't be here
Yeah.
otherwise. You would have left
I
already.
can, like sit in the darkness and then like kind of
I love it.
pull you to the light.
I love it. I need
Good,
that.
good fucking luck.
Bye.